And here we go. When hinges creak in doorless chambers. I forgot it. When hinges creak in doorless chambers, and strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls, whenever candlelights flicker, and the air is deathly still, that is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight. Greetings, listeners. I am your host, your podcast host. Yo, what up? Welcome to Truth or Goof. This is Monster Matt. In the studio, as always, we've got
Dan the Man, conspiracy guy, here to...
Not anymore. You're not a conspiracy guy anymore.
Welcome to your Illumination Station. Your co-host, who's returned to sanity.
That's right.
He's back, folks.
Dan the Man.
Back in the light, from the darkness. Dave, you're here too.
I'm here too. And Matt, I just want to say that was a really nice intro.
Thank you.
You did a very good job on it.
Honestly, it was frightening because the subject matter is so scary.
It's really scary.
And we're recording this with the lights off.
Yeah.
So, like...
I think we're picking up something right now. On the freaking... We're getting a ghost coming in.
What is it?
Alright, I think I got the ghost to stop talking.
You heard a ghost just now?
Just some technical difficulty, but
you know,
it
it
could be a ghost.
Oh.
Could be a ghost.
Yeah. And our guest today, our resident paranormal expert, our buddy John.
Hey! Boo!
Ooh,
John,
spooking
welcome
me
back to the
out.
program.
Thank you. Last time I was here, I was talking about dinosaurs. Now I'm talking about ghosts.
Two very similar things.
Which do you like more?
I like,
Don't say ghost dinosaurs, because that's a cop.
I guess I would have to go with ghosts. I've seen more ghosts than dinosaurs.
Right.
Damn.
And you've been a paranormal enthusiast for a while now.
Yeah, quite a while. Ever since I was a young boy.
You used to have a paranormal investigative service.
Kinda. Yeah, a little bit.
It was a hobby.
Yeah, I guess it was a hobby.
Yeah.
So, back maybe 5 years ago or so, we still have a Facebook.
All right.
I forget the URL, so whatever. But Western Massachusetts Paranormal Investigators. It also was Wimpy, which I didn't realize till after the fact. So that kind of sucks. But
Wimpy,
I made
that's
a cool
actually
logo.
great. That's actually fantastic.
We have no fear of you.
Yeah, but we never actually got a case going. We had a person in Southwick message me. I think people get real creeped out. Like, obviously it looked official, and we were going to have t-shirts and all that stuff, because that's how you make things official, like the Truth or Goof shirt, which I still don't have. But,
well, we'll have to get you one for coming on the program.
Twice.
That's the only reason I'm here.
The Two-Timers
The
Club.
Two-Timer Club,
Yeah.
But we were messaging back and forth on Facebook, and there was some woman in Southwick, and
Ooh.
basically she told me, I think she just thought that we were going to jack all her shit, but she told me that ever since she started talking to us about having an investigation done and would talk out loud in her house, that activity started to pick up and it was freaking her out, so she had to stop. So that got canceled, and we had another thing in Springfield where a little girl was trying to murder her younger sister, and when the mom would ask why, she said, "The devil told me." And this was like a 4-year-old girl. So I noped out of that one, actually. I just stopped responding to the messages.
Perhaps borderline possession.
Yeah, so that's the history.
Some demon shit.
Of what I have.
Some paranormal activity shit.
Paranormal indeed. Today we're here in the conspiracy basement, in the dark.
To talk about ghosts. You know the ghosts. You heard about them. We're getting into them today.
Yeah, we talked about reincarnation last time. So perhaps those who aren't ready to move on back to, the spiritual world or whatever,
Become ghosts.
they linger in the physical plane because they're attached to their life in their physical body.
The common theory is that a ghost is a spirit with unfinished business. How do you feel about that?
That
Well, I
definitely
think-
sounds fair to me.
I don't know if the spirit can decide what's unfinished or not, but I think we should go around and decide who believes in ghosts or what you believe in. Dave, I can predict that you do not believe in ghosts.
You're going to be right on that one.
Yeah.
I do not. Firmly in the Goof side of the Goof meter on this one.
Dave comes downstairs when I'm watching ghost programs and makes fun of them until
I mean, to be fair,
until I turn them off.
To be fair,
because he
those
wants
are-
to use the living room. or
Those are
something.
really dumb.
Yeah, and
Like those, like if paranormal evidence is going to be found, it's not going to be on the Travel Channel. Is the first place we're going to see the proof of paranormal life or non-life.
yeah, and all the just the movies and stuff
Right.
that are fictional
You're right.
and they're ghost stories.
Yeah.
But
John
however,
disagrees.
however,
John
though,
disagrees.
however, you know, I will say that I believe in ghosts.
Okay.
Ghosts to be a truth.
So we got the two opposing sides this time, back
Yep.
in the old formula.
Yeah.
I do believe.
Young Jonathan.
I do believe.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I was younger, I can tell stories, ghost stories later, but I have believed in it. It's been something that's interested me. Even those dumb ghost shows, I do love watching those because I think there's merit to some of what they're doing. Obviously, there has to be entertainment value as well. But yeah, I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
I want to believe.
All
No.
Walter.
I think I may believe, but I'm just waiting for some sort of experience or evidence. Otherwise, it's hard to believe in something that you can't personally experience. I don't know.
Absolutely, the first-hand experience will certainly is a factor for many people. I myself did not believe in ghosts until I had a paranormal experience myself.
So you've had an encounter with ghosts. Has anyone else
Nope.
here have any personal ghost stories? Matt, no.
No.
Which is why you don't.
Right. Neither of us have.
No.
I have a couple.
I've had some unexplained things happen.
You okay? Yeah.
But
I've heard it. I've heard you tell me a story.
Yeah.
I'm the.
we'll tell our story.
I'll tell my
Don't be
sh-
I
story
figure
time.
I'll
this
tell
is
my
kind of
short-
ghost story hour.
Yeah,
You want to hear
for
my
sure.
only? I'll tell a short one. It's like 2 sentences long. The only time I ever had a ghostly encounter was when I was drunk at Dan's house and
Consuming
I was
spirit.
I was consuming spirit, and I went to use the bathroom, and I was using the bathroom, and all of a sudden the shade flew up, and I'm
Oh.
like, that must be a ghost, and that's the only experience I ever
That's a faulty shade.
had.
shade.
And that's why I don't believe in ghosts.
The window might have been open, could have been the wind.
Yeah.
And
I was drunk.
there's certainly
Probably
there's
did,
certainly plenty of examples out there,
Yeah.
where there is some other explanation, but people certainly do have a tendency to want to believe.
Right.
People that believe in ghosts will see the ghosts, but I do believe that there are certainly genuine paranormal activities that do occur. Which I don't know if we'll have to get into I don't really like ghost versus poltergeist versus demon. Like ghost seems more like Casper status, like a friendly. He's not looking to hurt anybody.
I think poltergeist might be the scariest word ever created.
Poltergeist is real. That movie?
Thanks Steven Spielberg for the term.
Well, I think that's it's different forms of energy, and then you also have interactive. Well, I don't know if you want to call it interactive, but ghosts that will interact with people versus residual energy, which is essentially like a recording that just plays over and over again, which is it's just energy that's implanted onto a certain area, whether that's a house, a location, an object, whatever it might be. It's just something that is emotionally charged and that causes the scene to play out over and over again. So a lot of people who see ghosts, they'll say, oh, I saw this person walk through a wall. Well, a lot of times it's in old buildings, and that wasn't a wall before. That was a doorway before renovations were done. So, but I'm sure we'll talk about different sorts of entities at some point.
I definitely used to like to watch the old, pre Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures era when Travel Channel would just do like the ghost documentaries. You know what I mean? Like those hour-long ghost documentaries, or the same thing with like the alien documentaries too. I used to like watching those and shit.
I feel like those are more sensationalized than the other ones, though.
Yeah, but the thing I don't like about Ghost Hunters is it's the guys are in these dark hallways and shit like that, and they're definitely like trying to see ghosts and trying to react to ghosts. Like, dude, whoa, what was that? And it was literally just nothing in the darkness. It was just something in their imaginations, or something that they just completely made up for television.
Yeah, like a lot of the
I don't
EVP stuff, I don't personally believe
Right, yeah.
myself. Like a lot of the supposed ghost detecting technology, I don't know if that's really necessarily detecting ghosts. You know,
Right.
like if you get because our own bodies throw off an electromagnetic.
Yeah, so do
We have
the lights.
Yeah,
and
we have
every
a field in all the electric equipment,
right.
like the cameras and such that are used to record these.
Yeah.
You know, or
Yeah,
to try and
anything
record.
could set that.
It's
Well, I mean,
about-
that's why it's weird when there is no body around something and then an
It's
electromagnetic
an inconsistency.
sensor detects something that's not there. So that's like the point of those.
Yeah, for example, and I know we can talk about the merit of the shows. Obviously, it's a TV show, and they have to have entertainment value. They're not
Right.
going to hire a bunch of, fat, boring dudes to be like, let's make sure this ain't a ghost tonight. Like, it just doesn't work out, so they have to...
That's what a lot of them are.
They're
though.
keeping the lights on. But, like, for example, they had in a show where you hear footsteps on the wood, and then in sequence, the electromagnetic force detectors, EMF detectors, were also picking up energy as the steps were going by. So it just happened to be that there was the noises, the thing lights up, goes off, and detects. So it's detecting something. Those are scientific equipment. What it's detecting is what's unknown. I actually have a story about EMF detectors if you guys want to hear it.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
So I have one. It's literally called the ghost meter. It's cheesy as hell, but it works. I'll go up to my electrical outlets and I'll actually test it. And I can see that it's picking up on EMF. And I was in a graveyard with Caitlin, I don't know why, when we were younger.
Why not?
And I was just going around. I've always been interested in this stuff, so I'm like, I want to see what there could be. I went up to the power lines, wasn't getting any readings, didn't get anything. The middle of a wide open cemetery, okay? And we got to this grave, and I don't remember what the last name said, but it was something stupid, and me as like a 20-year-old kid was like, probably was like something about a dick or a butt or something. And I'm like, oh, look at this, and I started making fun of it.
Son.
The meter goes crazy for a couple seconds. Just right as I'm hovering over the gravestone. Doesn't do it again for the next 15, 20 minutes anywhere in that graveyard, only when I was making fun of this person's last name right on top of the grave. Whether or not that was something, who the hell knows?
Yeah,
but it's
I mean,
interesting.
That definitely... And that's the thing is, too, a lot of ghost stories, you have the background. Because if you just... I don't know.
If you didn't have it on in a cemetery, if you were just in like a Walmart and walked by an area without electronics and it went off, we wouldn't assume it was a ghost. But the fact that it was a cemetery.
Right.
In the middle of
And
nature, I guess.
at that specific instance where you were talking about
There might be ghosts involved.
perhaps the deceased who may have appeared on the monitor. But that's the thing, too, is like you said, you were testing your outlets because these are just regular detectors
Right.
that do serve other purposes. They just slap a ghost finding label on there and then maybe charge 50% more for it or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's like any equipment that they're using. So you have FLIR thermal imaging cameras. So these are legitimate scientific cameras that pick up thermal energy. And so if you see all of a sudden the shape of a human where there is no human, something is there causing that detection. It's not fake. Or what's really interesting, lately they've been using a modified version of the Microsoft Kinect camera. Do you guys know what the Kinect is?
I don't.
Yeah.
So it basically, you ever see think of like motion controls, okay? So it was used for the Xbox where like you can move your hands around, and what those cameras do is they use a spectrum of light to capture almost like an image,
Oh, okay.
a skeleton version of your shape, so that
Yeah,
it knows like where your hands are when you're moving.
All right, I got you. I follow.
What paranormal? Like, was that the third one where they had the ghosts?
Yeah, Paranormal Activity totally ripped off actual technology that people are using and made it into the 17th sequel of the movie that was not needed. But they all of a sudden they'll be recording and you'll see just like a skeletal figure just standing there. Or they were recording
Like on the screen?
on the screen of the device, or there was a stage. They were at a little concert hall, and all of a sudden they saw like skeletons of people like playing instruments.
Oh.
So it was mapping something. This is legitimate equipment that's mapping something. We just don't know what that something is. Right.
And I'm pulling up a picture so they can see like it pinpoints like hand, movement and everything like that. So for it to just pick up the image of a little person walking around.
I'll listen.
But it also depends on
That's
whether or not you
yeah.
believe a TV show. And most people who don't want to believe in ghosts will just say it's fake and that's it. Like
Yeah.
they have no reason to believe the show.
Do your own research.
I definitely like all the
But-
I
but
definitely
the-
like ghost imagery, and I like the idea of the ghost triggering the connect and like that spooky shit. Like, which is why Halloween is popular. People like to be spooked,
Right.
but I don't think that they're an actual thing in the world that exists.
Yeah. Sometimes though, the research will come to you, and you will be spooked.
Oh.
Like I was working in a restaurant, and I was in the basement.
Oh yeah,
Pounding the
I know this
veal.
story. Pounding the late night veal.
Beating the meat downstairs. And I had a container next to me. And here I am whacking away, tenderizing the product. And all of a sudden, in my peripherals, and that's another thing too, a lot of these stories, the peripheral vision.
Right,
You know, so
which
it's-
is not trustworthy.
Yeah, you can only focus on like 3% of your actual,
Yeah.
eye range
Right.
or whatever. But anyway, in the corner of my eye, I see the container sliding towards the edge of the table, and it falls to the floor. And I was certainly not open-minded at the time, to the point where I am now. But so I was like, yeah, that wasn't a ghost or whatever. I was hitting the table, the vibrations. It was inching so slowly until I didn't, notice, and it just fell off the table. So I pick it up, and then I start smashing the table way harder, and it didn't move an inch. So I did see it move, and it was up there, and it definitely fell. So I didn't touch it, and I was in this walk-in refrigerator by myself. So that was pretty
Spooky shit.
Yeah, I went upstairs immediately. I'm out of here.
If there was water on it, sometimes if there was water under it, I've seen. I was at a restaurant like 2 days ago, and my cup had water under it, and it just started moving across the table because there was a
Yeah.
puddle.
Right, so
So
no friction between
Yeah.
the cups.
Well, this was on top of like 2 layers of plastic sheeting.
oh, okay.
I mean, granted, it was empty, so it didn't weigh like a whole lot, but I mean,
Still strange.
it moved probably a solid. It had to be at least 6 inches, to the edge of the table before it slid off. So that was a good slide. It wasn't like it was hanging off precariously, and then all of a sudden it tipped over. And I got.
It's weird.
So, did you guys want to talk at all about like historical significance of ghosts and like different cultures around the world? Like how it seems to be there's a common thread in all societies and all cultures, from indigenous tribes to have spirits and spirit animals to places these people would have never had communication with. So let's talk like ancient cultures of Japan versus indigenous people in America. Like how are these two cultures aligning to have the same beliefs in a spiritual afterlife?
The ancients definitely acknowledge ghosts and reincarnation
Everywhere
as well.
around the world.
Yeah.
It just seems like such a common thread that if there's nothing to it, how did all these cultures sync so well? It's just odd.
Because I think death is a universally human fear, and something that captures our imagination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't need to have communicated with each other to share that fear and make it like culturally
Well,
significant.
it's the unknown. I think it's the unknown
Right.
of death that makes it so fearful for
Right.
some people.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean,
So they try to push the belief that life can continue after death
Right.
because they're
life
afraid
goes
to die.
Life goes on, and I mean that's the thing. These
That's
people,
an ancient idea.
yeah. But it does seem, like a lot of times where there's a tragic death, or like the person wasn't ready to die. They died suddenly or something. Then, there might be like a ghost. I don't really have a whole lot of ghost stories per se.
Do you guys believe in like seances and like mediums and people who can say they can communicate with ghosts?
A lot of those people certainly have been exposed as
Yeah.
hoaxes.
Right.
Most of it, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Like when a medium comes on a ghost show and it's like,
Right.
oh yeah, no, he's here. I see
Yeah.
6 of them.
Yeah.
They're all right here. I'm talking to them right now.
Grandma says hello, and they're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
Like-
for people are way too confident in their ability. I kind of
Yeah, I think it just depends on. You have phonies in every industry.
Definitely.
And I know one story. Caitlin's mother, I believe this was, and she told a story a while back, so I could be misquoting some facts of it, but she was just getting her hair done at a random salon, and the woman goes, "I'm so sorry." Someone's name. She goes, "I keep getting the name, whatever it was. We'll say Lisa. Lisa wants you to know she's okay." And this was just a random person who was cutting her mom's hair, I believe it was. And if I'm saying this wrong, sorry, Caitlin. But and it was someone who had passed away recently. No way this person should have any idea. There's no benefit to them just saying this to a random customer. So I think like anything, there's phonies, and then there's people who probably legitimately have tapped into some other energy.
Definitely. And it seems like the people who are on TV, might be the hoaxsters. Like John Edwards, I'm pretty sure he sent people to look at people's houses like a week before the show or whatever, and as they go there like pretending to be
That's so weird.
some like a Jehovah's Witness or some, I don't know, kind of utility worker or something. They go in the house for a minute, see some photos or some antique
so
items
weird.
or whatever, and then say,
That's
I'm
the
thinking
scariest
about
part.
it. Yeah. People that are goofing.
Yeah, that's fucked up. The goofers, the real goofers of the world.
But there are definitely certain, like a barber though, somebody who's cutting hair.
It would make no sense to have an agenda.
Yeah. And I mean, they have nothing to gain from it really.
So do you think that was caused by like spirit attachment to her, to her mom, like a spirit being attached to another human?
Yeah, I don't
know. For somebody to just come up with this information out of the blue.
Yeah, they must. You would imagine the family, they have a close bond, so they'd want to maybe communicate.
Yeah,
reach out.
Well, it seems like you always get stories after someone passes. You'll hear all the time, "Oh, I woke up at 2:30 in the morning and I knew something was wrong," or you hear all the time, like after Grandma passed away, the little kids said, "Hi, Grandma," to nothing. Like, so it seems like there's almost like
kids
this.
Are scary.
Kids are connected.
Yeah, it seems like there's some sort of period after someone passes where if it isn't like this violent, sudden thing, that they're like almost allowed their goodbyes. Whether that makes any sense to me, someone who tries to think scientifically, it makes no sense to me.
Right.
But there's just such corroborating info.
Yeah, it is. It's paranormal. It's like it's beyond normal. So science, as we understand it, or we understand on a physical, because science is all about the physical reality and what we can observe.
And it cannot explain ghosts.
No, because we can't really observe
Which is why
ghosts.
I don't believe in it.
The thought of loved ones coming back is frightening to me for some reason.
It's
because
scary.
people just like all of a sudden returning.
Right.
That's like an unsettling thought. Like
it's unsettling and comforting at the same time.
If they're at peace, though, it's not
scary.
like they're stalking you. If they're at peace, they're back. They're back in the spiritual pool.
And it's not like they're actually there. It's a different plane of existence, if it exists.
I don't think I need to communicate with a dead loved one to appreciate them and feel connected to them and remember them. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what a lot of ghost stories are. People wanting to reconnect with someone.
That's definitely true. There's a lot of confirmation bias.
Yeah, they're creating stories in their heads.
Yeah, I listen to a podcast, I'll plug it, Jim Harold's Campfire, and every week they have callers call in and just tell their paranormal experiences or ghost stories. A lot of them are like these poignant tales of my dog came and he had a flower in his mouth, and it was my grandma's favorite flower after she passed away.
The dogs and the children.
Right. Or just I found a necklace on the ground and it was similar to one that my mom had before she passed. And it's like, wow.
It must be a ghost.
With stuff like that, you can tell when some people are just kind of
connecting.
And not to say it's all fake, because some of it just can't be explained.
It's just coincidental.
Yeah, a lot of it I feel like is coincidental. And then you have people that tell really good ghost stories about stuff with specifics that seem weird for them to just make up. But yeah, listening to podcasts like that, or just people telling their own stories, it's tough to I don't know, believe any of it unless it sounds really.
I definitely hearing ghost stories. I don't just because I don't believe in ghosts doesn't mean I don't enjoy ghost stories and thinking and letting them make me think. You know what I mean?
It's almost like fear is primal. And they always say people flock to horror movies, people flock to Halloween things because in our day and age, we don't have that primal fear of
Right.
where am I going to find food? Where am I going to find shelter? Is a predator hunting me at night?
How am I going to kill that saber?
That's why human beings are afraid of the dark a lot of times,
Right.
because there's a legitimate fear in your brain pre-programmed to be shit terrified
Yeah.
of the dark because something was going to murder you.
That's evolution.
And now that's only
genetic.
if,
That's
you know,
genetic
you're in
memory.
Springfield,
Yeah.
Illinois.
Genetic memory, our DNA. The mysteries of the DNA.
Yeah, ghost in the DNA.
Yeah, memory is being passed
Cool
down.
anime.
So we were talking about last week. We were talking about reincarnation.
Right.
We were talking about how children are like closer to the spirit realm.
Right. Same with dogs.
Because they haven't. You could probably explain it better than me. The children have a closer connection to the spirit realm because they were.
They're closer to the source, you know? Because we grow up and we think this is the real world.
Right. We become more educated.
The real world, there's two
Lose
real
a sense.
worlds. You know, there's a physical
Here we
real
go.
world, and there's also a spiritual, real world. And the children are born, fresh out of the spiritual realm, coming into a body, a fetus or an egg or whatever, and then being born into this world, and then then you're told, oh, Santa Claus isn't real, death and taxes, all this, and you just
Get a job.
Yeah, get a job, go to
This is
school,
all hitting me right now.
listen to these bells. But the children, before all that, these labels and thinking are applied to they have this, they can remember the oneness of the world.
Right. The singularity.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's why kids
Exactly.
can talk to spirits. Or
Right.
always like, Mommy, who's that man in the corner?
Well, didn't you discuss? I think it might have been Willie who was saying something about brain receptors, essentially turning
Pruning.
off because they're not. Yeah, pruning because they're not being used. Which is it's interesting. I haven't looked it up myself as far as like legitimacy, but it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean we use less of our brain than we could, but the children, they're fresh and fresh brains.
Fresh brains.
So perhaps they can
Get 'em
perceive
in.
these things,
Well, so when I was a kid, I have too many stories, but
That's what we need for
Yeah.
this episode.
When I was
And by the way, we
kid-
lived in the same house, so his experiences
Well,
may not.
brothers under the skin.
this was before Matt was an old person, though.
Oh,
We lived at an old house, and I think I've told you this before, but there was I guess a lot of satanic ritual
Oh,
worship
right.
in the room upstairs, which was near my bedroom as a baby, and my parents just kind of like painted over it. But I guess when they bought the house, they told me, the kid was into Satan.
Satan.
He was a big Satan fan.
That's not good.
Not Satan, Satan. So it's very different.
Into Satan.
Or he might have been, I don't know. But either way, when I was a baby, not even a baby, I guess like 2, 3, 4, whatever. I just remember this recurring nightmare over and over again, and I can remember this till the day. I can remember it vivid detail of like just being in bed and having this force pick me up and just throw me, and then I would wake up, and it would happen it would happen over and over and over again. When I was young, it terrified me as a baby because I don't know what the hell is going on, but I can't explain it to this day, but I still remember the nightmare.
That
That's
sounds
scary.
spooky. And the dream realm, ghosts often appear to people in dreams because the subconscious can, detect more of this paranormal stuff than the conscious mind.
Right.
So yeah, scary shit. And I don't know what it is, but it needs to stop throwing me. Hasn't thrown me in quite a while.
Yeah. Well, you got out of the house, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Because it does seem that it's sometimes it's places that are haunted, and sometimes it's like people that are haunted.
Right.
And sometimes, in the case of the poltergeist, it may even be that the person is the one with all the psychokinetic powers, and they just don't know it.
Is that what a poltergeist is?
That's one of the theories, which I certainly, I could get down with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It
maybe
goes-
you made the container move with your mind.
Yeah, and I want to start practicing my spoon bending and stuff
right.
like that. Unlocking
The psychic
that
abilities.
psychic shit.
Yeah.
Because, that's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah,
And it
sure.
seems like a lot of poltergeist stuff, like cabinets flying open, all that kind of stuff. It seems like there's somebody who's under a lot of stress to cause this kind of stuff to happen.
Right.
And usually it's like an adolescent or a younger person. So they're also, maybe connected. But
Yeah, it's always someone. Whenever you hear it, they say it's someone who's in a high emotional state. So that you hear a lot of those stories during puberty, as energies are changing and emotions are changing. You don't really hear that, like, oh yeah, 55-year-old Uncle Buck watching the Pats. Like
that sounds
he doesn't
more
have,
like the ghost.
right? Like he doesn't have poltergeist throwing footballs around his house. It's always someone in a high emotional state, or someone who, gosh, whatever it could be, maybe lost a loved one. But yeah, I've heard a similar theory to that too.
Scary stuff.
Real spooky stuff.
I like the playful, spooky side of ghosts.
Like
But when it
Casper.
starts getting into shit moving around and hurting people,
like
it's
Alcatraz
And
ghosts.
that's actually-
Those ghosts will fuck
That's
you
where
up.
people will draw the line, because I
Right.
guess it is kind of a blurred line between like the ghost, Casper the Friendly Ghost, because they say a ghost wouldn't harm you, and if it is going to harm you, then it's either a poltergeist or.
All right. Favorite fictional ghosts, John. Go.
Man, you can't just spring that question
Yeah,
on
give us
me
Matt,
without.
20 minutes.
Matt, go.
I don't have one right now.
I guess I'm gonna say the hitchhiking ghost from Haunted Mansion.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah,
ghosts.
we're looking
What about real ghosts though? Truth ghosts.
Truth ghost.
The ghost of Abraham Lincoln.
Who's a real ghost?
Well, I mean, this is a poltergeist, but I heard about the Enfield poltergeist. Not Enfield.
the
UK.
Elizabeth, the Warrens or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, their
British.
investigation.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That seemed pretty crazy, and they had some of that,
Conjuring.
and like police officers witnessing chairs moving
Right,
and
right.
stuff like this, and you got tons of witnesses to corroborate the story.
It's like the Demon House.
Corroborates kind of a
Where's the Demon
bad
House?
connotation.
The one that Zach Bagans
The one that
bought?
Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures fame bought, where there's reports of children, a child running up the walls, police reports of this, doctor reports
Child
of
care
this,
services.
of like demons and just stuff coming out of the walls and shit, and legitimate sources reporting this. I don't know why they would all make this up and tarnish their reputations. Maybe they did, but
That's scary.
Yeah, he bought the house and did a documentary that he's going to release on it.
and then he demolished the house.
Demolished the
He
house.
said nobody
It
should
not
ever
exist.
step foot in this house again, and he made
That's
it
so
so
scary.
Well,
When
that
is this documentary
that
coming out?
almost
I need to
makes
see
it
that.
seem like it could be fake, though. And then they just
'Cause nobody else saw it,
destroy
like-
it, cover
But he
up all
didn't-
the evidence.
He bought it because of these
He
stories.
bought it because of these stories. It
Yeah.
wasn't his documentary that these people were,
Oh,
writing the reports
yeah.
about. He heard all the reports, heard the police reports, the medical reports, and then he wanted to investigate it himself. So that documentary has not yet been released. Otherwise, we probably have seen it by now.
Yeah. That's. I watched the Ghost Adventures documentary, the original,
Mm-hmm.
getting ready for this podcast, and can't say I was too impressed.
It's old. It's definitely amateur. The footage is okay. That weird brick thing.
The brick was the
You can
most,
look it up. You can look up the brick thing probably on YouTube. But like,
Yeah, out of anything out of that documentary, that brick throwing evidence is the main point to it. Since then, like that group, that was a bunch of bros screaming in their
Bro.
early 20s.
Ghost.
If you watch the show now, it's definitely a more mature approach to things, with actual scientific equipment and not just screaming and
yeah, we've
Growing
probably
out.
seen every episode of that show. Just because it's entertaining, and I like to see what they're going to catch, and I believe some of it. I want to believe that they're not making it up. Any of those shows, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, it's pretty much the only two I'll watch. But yeah,
Do you think if your third eye is open, you can see ghosts?
I would definitely. I would. It seems like a
Like spirit, it's a spiritual realm connected.
there's
with it.
definitely you have to be spiritual
Right.
in order to contact spirits or
Right
be
on.
contacted by spirits. So yeah, it would definitely involve awakening certain parts of your brain
Right.
to that kind of thing, which is why the children and like the dogs
Yeah.
seem,
Their
seem
brains
like
are awakened.
they're just more in tune back with the beginning,
Right.
yeah, or the ending.
So in my next life, when I'm a dog,
You'll see ghosts.
I'll be able to see ghosts, and I'll report back. And
Put you back onto this podcast.
I'll be like, whoa, 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 whoa.
So-
You won't know what I'm saying. Dogs are trying to tell us about ghosts all the time.
That's a bark.
You just don't understand.
Yeah, we just don't.
They're everywhere. You guys don't see it.
So as far as like ghost encounters, you know, the classics are seeing a shadow person or something, or like
Right.
seeing something out of the corner of your eye.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to prove that because you're the only
Yeah.
one who saw it.
Right.
And
Just like aliens.
and if it's in the corner of your eye, you know, it's like, did you see it,
Right.
or are you saw
You see
something and
The
you believe in
imagination-
ghosts, and now you say, yeah, I saw a ghost.
Imagination is a powerful thing.
It gets weird when, you know, you hear of all these places that have like tours and stuff, and someone will come up to them and a tour guide and say like, who was that guy over there? And there was nobody there.
He's
but they-
been dead for 15 years.
Yeah.
I think when it gets weird, and I have another story. So, there was a house on the Cape that was featured on, I believe it was Ghost Hunters back in the day. But this kind of goes off of not being able to prove evidence, but having something happen. And so Caitlin and I decided to spend a night at this inn, which was investigated. I don't recommend it. It was a bad idea. But we went there, and while we were getting ready for dinner, Caitlin was probably 6 feet away from me, not really near anything. It was kind of like an open room with a bed in the corner, like one of those colonial beds that has like the weird shades you can pull, which just creeped me out because who knows what's standing out there, so I didn't pull that shade. But and she just goes, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" And she's like, "You didn't just tap me on the shoulder?" And I'm like, "No, I've been over here. I was on my laptop at the time while she was getting ready." And then she's like, "Okay, yeah, whatever." She thought I was just being a jerk. And so like a couple minutes later, because it takes girls a little while to get ready for dinner, I'm still sitting on the bed, and she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "You just hit me in the butt." I'm like, What do you mean?" And she just kind of looked at me, and that I don't really remember the details of it other than that, but it's just one of those things where I trust that she's being truthful.
Yeah.
Why would she make it up? Not to mention there was no third floor, but I heard people walking above me, like walking on a floor above me at night. But there was no third floor. The only thing there was is, do you guys know what a widow's walk is?
Mm-hmm.
So in old colonial buildings, they would have a ladder that led up to like almost a tower, and it usually overlooked the ocean. It was called a widow's walk because when the ships came back into port, the wives would look and see if they could see their husband, and a lot of times they wouldn't see their husband, knowing
They'd
that
keep
they are now
walking.
a widow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know what happened there. I spent the next night like in a Econo Lodge. I just ate the money because I couldn't deal with it. It was
spooky.
It was bad. Like you know, that feeling where you feel like someone's near you, and you just know. You could have your eyes closed, but you know something else is there.
Mm-hmm.
That was the entire night.
But I feel like if, not to discredit anything, but like if you didn't know that this was supposedly a haunted
Right.
hotel,
Would that have happened?
would she have even like, she may have like,
It's
I don't know, because sometimes if you're like already in a mindset, you'll hear something or feel something and you'll think, you know, what was that? Was
We're
that a
always
ghost?
looking for cause and effect, and our imaginations are always trying to connect things and explain things.
See, I do agree with that, and I think when you're looking for something, you're more apt to see it. But at the same time, I don't think that can just discredit anything that happens. I think it's too easy of a cop out to say, well, it's fake because you were looking for it. It's like,
But
okay.
there's a difference between actual physical evidence and purely emotional imagination thoughts. You know what I mean?
But
there's no physical credible evidence to support ghosts.
But I don't have
You don't
sensors
know
running
that.
through my body, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I can't be like,
There isn't.
I could have a ghost just giving me a hug right now, and I'd be like, David's giving me a hug, and you'd say, well, ghosts aren't real. I'm like, dude, this dude's hugging me way too tight.
If I can't see or touch it,
Dave, you're saying that there's no evidence of any sort of ghost or anything, but you're also discrediting all of the evidence presented to you. So how it's
I'm not discrediting it.
you're saying nothing on the shows you've seen is real, but that's just you saying it's not real.
These are stories, and these are people
Right.
These are people making things up for
Have
television.
you ever been to
See,
the
that's what
space
I mean.
station?
You're
But
proving
you've
the
seen
point.
pictures of the space station. You've seen videos. You believe the space station
I
is
do
real.
not believe in the
Yes,
space
I
station.
know.
I also believe
but,
the Earth isn't flat, and I haven't been to space to
but,
see.
but these are people telling stories who have shown you on TV that the Earth
Well,
is
let's
round.
not get ghosts and globe model confused.
But you get what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, but there's a difference.
it can't always be circumstantial evidence to prove that something exists or does not. I think you can't baseline science-wise say, yes, ghosts are real because of this evidence, but I think you have to have pioneers in an industry to start doing something to get to... You know, if Galileo never made a telescope and looked at the stars, we would say, well, those are my ancestors.
Right, and nobody's going to fund paranormal research unless there's a way to make money off of it, like a TV show.
There is. People have done. There have been scientific, not ghost adventures, but actual scientific evidence or research into ghosts, and there has not come up any physical evidence for
because
it.
science is looking for physical observations.
Because that's what science is.
Within the box we already
which
know.
is why science, as we understand it, or as we practice it, will not necessarily discover ghosts because it is above normal. It's beyond normal.
Right, but you can't submit emotional feelings and thoughts and experiences as physical, credible evidence.
It's definitely true. First-hand experience is not super credible.
Yeah, it's impossible.
On a psychological,
Right.
level, because people will exaggerate things, or whole experiences. Yeah, they're not totally credible.
Yeah.
But there are so many, and it certainly changed my perspective when it happened to me, because all I could say, the camera wasn't rolling, but shit started moving. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going upstairs.
It's definitely weird that I would say that we don't have as much evidence as you'd think you'd have. But at the same time, you can think, I'm sure every person in this room can think of someone they know that has had an experience happen to them, and how is that possible?
Yeah. They say 1 in 3 people in America, the U.S., believes in ghosts.
Right, so there's either ghosts exist, or there's something going on in our brains which is causing 1 in 3 people to have experiences that we can't explain. Either way, something's going on.
Yeah. And it's hard, because I don't buy into the EVP, like the ghost voices or lots of stuff like that. They got their readers going off and all that kind of stuff. There's certainly room for, radio waves or some kind of electromagnetic frequencies or whatever. The universe is an energetic vibration, so there's going to be waves going on everywhere.
Later on in Ghost Adventures, when they start getting more equipment, they have a device that sweeps through radio waves at like a rapid pace.
In reverse.
So it's like fast enough to not pick up like a single word, basically. And they'll use this like underground and stuff, places where radio waves or radio stations or anything wouldn't come through.
Mm-hmm. And
they basically use it to try to tap into, different wavelengths and stuff. And, voices will come out of it. And if you want to believe those... They ask questions and they say talk into the thing, and they'll do it for hours and nothing will come through. Mm-hmm. They'll get a random word, or they'll get an intelligent response, and it's up to, I guess, the viewer to believe that. But
exactly.
It seems weird for a full sentence to come through.
And it's over sweeps of a radio station,
right.
So it's not like they pick up on a radio station. It's imagine going from 99.1 to 106.7 within 3 seconds, and you're getting a noise that comes over those that's a word.
And it's not like this is something they only do. Like, I'm sure somebody could create this device and use it. Or they also do, like, I'm sure a lot of ghost hunting teams do, like, live tours where they'll take people who want to go on a ghost hunt and do something like that. And if you experience something like that in person, it's hard to... Yeah. But that doesn't mean ghosts exist at the same time.
And as far as just the ghost adventures or whatever, like the TV shows, I don't know if they can necessarily be trusted, fully. If this isn't just part, entertainment, because even as far as the news is concerned, I'd have to say that's fictional. So it's like I can't really trust the TV,
right,
for anything. I can't.
I trust Bill Nye the Science Guy, and he doesn't believe in ghosts.
Well, I don't.
Didn't he lie
him.
about Deflategate?
I don't.
Bill Nye has had less than credible answers for some things recently. I think Bill Nye is getting a little too much Bill Nye in his life, but I do like the man.
So how do
He's
you
a
feel,
science man.
How do you feel about like cold spots or just like places where people say like the energy just feels off or something. You know, like if you're going somewhere and you just feel like a concentrated point of cold air.
Cold pockets, those will happen anywhere from a draft or whatever. It's like, oh, it's an old building.
Yeah, that doesn't
probably gonna have a draft.
Right, that doesn't necessarily mean ghosts.
All right, let's go through these. Orbs.
Orbs is dust in the sky.
Something out of focus. You just look at a regular old light and you just turn the lens. You get like a lens glare that appears.
Some of them people see outside of
orbs
the camera,
observed without camera.
Or they'll be recording dust. They'll show dust on the camera, and then a ball of light will move up, from side to side, and then just like veer off. You'll see them look like. This is basically just off of the TV show. I don't have my own.
So I have another story. So it's all first-hand evidence is the things I'm going to say to you guys because I don't go around recording at all times hoping for ghosts. But Caitlin was telling me when she was younger in her parents' room, she used to see these lights that would just kind of float around in one certain area of the room. This is only when she was little, and she would ask her mom something about she would say I see candle lights, and they would just float around the room. I don't know what they are or what they could be, but that's kind of like what Matt's saying. You see what people that have seen just light without any source floating around that's not through a camera. It's tough to explain, and
it's definitely there's lots of things that happen that we don't have explanations for.
There's an episode of Ghost Adventures where they investigate a forest with a police the city police
guarding
bordering all of the entrances of the forest and making sure it was cleared before they investigated. During the investigation, they see a ball of light off in the distance, just kind of moving through the forest. They go and check with all the police officers, real cops who probably wouldn't lie about this, who will say they patrol the entire surrounding area and there's nobody there. It doesn't mean it's ghosts, but just weird stuff.
Spooky shit.
Spooky shit.
Do you think the Illuminati knows about ghosts and they're covering it up?
I think the Illuminati knows probably more about demons than fucking your friendly ghosts, and that might be where they get a lot of their dark powers.
Do you think ghosts and demons kind of lump into one category for most people?
Absolutely. Sometimes people think any old ghost you gotta get away or whatever because that's a demon. A lot of it's seems like the Christian reaction to any ghost story is demon,
the Holy Ghost,
and that's another. It's the whole you get reincarnation essentially,
right?
Jesus coming back to life, the eternal life, in heaven.
It all comes from religion,
reincarnation,
early stories about spirits and stuff. That's the origin of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or I mean, if we're really going to talk about the J man, is it just sun worship? Has it been turned into sun worship? Jesus' birthday is the winter solstice, but that's a whole nother episode.
I'll celebrate.
That's the Christmas episode.
I'll celebrate the sun.
So God is a ghost who has unfinished business with Earth.
Right.
That's a Truth or Gloof exclusive.
So whenever you guys think of ghosts, especially I guess in America, you tend to think of colonial. Mm-hmm. If you, it's just like an instinct for whatever reason. You think ghost, you think woman in white dress with a bonnet on, stuff like that.
I think of a guy with a sheet over his head and two eyes cut out.
Or perhaps the natives,
or cats,
the poor indigenous tribes who were slaughtered by the bad white man who came, and this was their home for all this time, and then all of a sudden we show up. Happy Columbus Day.
Happy Columbus Day.
Here we are. We're going to take all your stuff and kill you. Bad things happen. There's probably some angry Native American ghosts.
So do you think ghosts are caused by extreme emotions like anger or unfinished business? It's why is the earth not covered in these things because people die?
Are there dinosaur
often.
Ghosts?
Mm-hmm.
Are there animal ghosts?
We have a story about an animal ghost coming up later.
Oh, good. Okay.
But
it's a weird thought talking about why isn't the earth covered in ghosts? If the earth were to explode and ghosts do exist, That's a scary
Out into
thought.
space ghost.
Space
Oh.
ghosts.
Ghost.
Oh,
So
space
just think about that if you ever get the choice to go to heaven or,
Well, no, they'll
or
go
become a
through it.
ghost.
Wait,
'Cause you could just be floating in space.
And just pass through a ghost.
haunting a freaking.
Well, no, you
star?
could be a ghost just floating through forever.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I think the key really is don't get too attached to the physical world. Don't say
But I love the
am
physical world.
I am Dan or Dave or Matt or John or so and so. This is I'm a human. I do this. I whatever, because maybe we are all one identity, the oneness,
One love.
the singularity
One
that you're
ghost.
talking about.
We're
the one,
all the one ghost.
one
We're all one
consciousness.
ghost.
A spiritual game of hide and seek where the one mind wanted to, because it's so boring just being everything.
That's like that Rick and Morty episode.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I didn't see that one. It's kind of like the movie Identity. It's all just in some guy's head.
Oh, is John Cusack in that one?
Are you John Cusack?
Am I John Cusack? Is he even in that?
Yeah,
Identity?
Are
He
you
is in
being
there.
John Malkovich?
1408 is a ghost movie.
I
Speaking
love
of,
that movie.
Of
That's a good
John
movie.
Cusack.
I can watch ghost movies. I like
yeah.
it. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
they're very entertaining.
Yeah,
Can I tell you my history of ghosts and how I was very afraid of them when I was younger?
please.
I watched The Sixth Sense at Dan Jeffrion, a friend of mine's house, when I was too young.
Is that the one where he was dead the whole time?
That's the one.
Oh, spoiler
And-
alert!
Maybe you were there too.
Yeah.
Did you watch Sixth Sense?
I think so.
We slept in his we watched The Sixth Sense. I was probably like, I don't know, too young, but maybe too old. I don't know.
No, I mean,
Like that sweet spot, like 7.
when it came out, it was when it came out. 'Cause
Maybe
Right.
8
I
or
saw
9
that
or
when
10.
it came out, and I
11.
would say, certified too young.
Yeah, and it's like,
What was it, Misha Barton throwing up?
Oh.
God,
and,
I don't think I made it through the whole movie.
and this is
Let's watch
after
it right
this is
now.
after he had already told me his house was haunted. I mean, I'd been friends with him for years. I never felt anything weird at his house, except for that one night after watching The Sixth Sense. He claims that he had a train set when he was younger that moved around on its own after they took the batteries out, and that there were orbs floating around it and stuff. This is from his memory as a kid. Very weird. So anyway, we watched The Sixth Sense, and we all go to sleep in his basement, and I couldn't sleep the entire night. I had to use the bathroom, but I was too afraid to get up. I held it the entire night
Oh, no.
because I was too afraid.
Did you sleep?
Did you
No.
went to bed?
Was
I
that
didn't
the first
sleep.
time you ever went
That's
to his
a
house?
horrible
No, but it was,
You
I,
had slept there before.
I had,
Mm.
and it doesn't mean ghosts exist. It just meant I was fucking afraid of them for a while after that. And it,
Pete
like,
didn't exist that
Because
night.
the movies certainly, dramatize
Right.
Oh,
the
sure.
ghosts and make them very spooky.
Do you
all,
think-
pretty much all ghost movies besides like Casper? I keep saying Casper, but
Oh, look.
all the other ones,
Stereotypical
all the other ones are like horror movies.
Right,
you know?
right.
not ghosts.
Do you think
Right,
ghosts like having movies get made about them?
They're just us, right?
But ghosts, like vengeful ghosts, they get pissed. You know what I mean?
I don't think
like-
it's like if so. Put aside the fact that you don't believe in them, but if you think about if they, let's just say they were real, it's almost like their consciousness is on a different plane of existence or whatever, and they're not thinking, "Oh, that TV show about ghosts is weird." It's just
Right.
like you can't comprehend it because you're
We don't think
not
we don't think movies about people are weird.
They don't want to believe they're dead, which is like the whole Sixth Sense thing. They don't know they're dead.
In one of the Casper movies, the little girl's father kills himself
right.
in order to become a ghost because he was
Isn't
a
that
ghost.
the first one?
He was because he was a paranormal investigator and he wanted to
Yeah.
know what it was like to be a ghost firsthand. Commits suicide
It's dark as hell.
and becomes a ghost, and that fucked me up.
That's kind of
Yeah,
like
that's-
Ghostbusters, the new one.
Right?
Let's not talk about that.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I didn't see that one either.
I mean,
Ghostbusters is a fun ghost
Ghostbusters
movie.
is one of my favorite movies of all time. And if ghosts do exist, I hope Slimer is one of them.
It's
Not his girlfriend.
Not his girl.
it's
not his
interesting
fault.
that like the ghosts in Ghostbusters and the ghosts in a horror movie. It's like it's still ghosts, but for some reason, as a kid, you can watch Ghostbusters. You can ride Haunted Mansion.
giant
They're
marshmallow
funny
man.
ghosts,
Right.
as opposed to creepy horror ghosts. And that's another thing. Why do ghosts only come out at night? Why can't the ghost hunters go to a house in the middle of the day?
Light pollution.
They have.
noise.
Yeah, they have. And I think that has to do. I don't really know what that has to do, honestly, but I think it's like our perception of ghosts, too. If you think about Western culture's perception of death in the afterlife is much different than, let's say, like Mexican culture and how they celebrate death, and they don't see spirits as scary, they see them as loved ones. It's all about like our born and raised perception of what ghosts should be.
Absolutely.
Like you're saying, it's a sheet over the head going, "Ooh!"
Which is definitely part of all the movies being spooktacular.
Right. Because they want, we think, oh, I can't see something, it comes out at night, that's scary.
It is scary.
That is very scary. It's scary. Literally the scariest thing I can think of is something that I can't see just staring at me all night. That's the most unsettling thing, but it's, okay, if there's a ghost of somebody, let's say an old woman died in a house that you live in, why would she just be up all night staring at you? She has better things to do. If she's a ghost old lady, she's probably knitting or wants to go visit loved ones. And I think that's just based on what we've seen from movies, like Dan was saying.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever have to deal with being a ghost? Well, you don't, because you don't believe in it.
I don't think I think that it's a more comforting thought to think that this is the only experience we'll have, and once we're dead, it's over, and that we should try to live the most out of the time we get instead of worrying about what's going to happen afterwards, because there is no afterwards.
Well, that's I think where karma comes into it.
Okay.
Because karma is like the driving force behind
You'll know is what I'm saying.
reincarnation.
I'm a good boy. Am I a good boy?
You're a good boy.
Good job, Dave.
I'm such a good boy.
Yeah,
It's definitely important to be a good boy.
yeah, of course.
Because
But I don't need to.
That's why all dogs go to heaven.
I don't need to have the incentive of a good, happy afterlife to know that I'm supposed to be a good person and that I should be a good person and that I should not be a dick to other people. I don't need the threat of hell
Hell is
to
just-
motivate me to be a good person.
Hell is just a threat.
Right, exactly. That's all. It's scaring children to be good for the rest of their lives. It's, you'll go to hell if you're not.
Negative.
And it's like, why? People shouldn't need a reason like that to be good people. Like, there's religious people who are afraid of non-religious people because they're like, oh, where's your moral compass if you don't believe in God? I'm like, I don't need God to tell me not to kill people. Like,
Because we all do have, the good and, the good. We have a moral judgment.
Yeah, little,
sure.
Hitler. Little Hitler.
there's the little Hitler and little Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket.
Little
Yeah.
Einstein.
Little Einstein.
Do you guys know anyone else who has ghost stories? I have a couple submissions.
Steve,
Steve, do you believe
do
in
you have
ghosts?
a ghost story?
Who's Steve?
He's a homeless guy.
Steve, the homeless guy who lives in our basement.
Get out of my basement.
Steve, do you have
You're
any ghost stories?
No, because I don't believe they're real.
See, Steve's on my side.
Great
You got an
addition.
even amount.
I
Yeah,
think
now it-
those TV shows are a crack of
Yeah,
shit.
you were
Traumatized.
I was feeling like I was getting ganged up on
I
in
was
this episode.
watching. Listen,
Steve watched Ghost
Shut
Adventures
up.
with me the other
Shut
night.
up. Shut up.
He didn't look
Listen.
happy.
Listen. It's all smoke and mirrors.
I agree.
All those TV shows. I know we got the O'Brien boys on here. They love their ghosts. I get it. I love a lot of things too. I love Bigfoot.
Right.
So I think he's real. Everybody's
That picture was
entitled-
real solid evidence recently.
Yeah, that video from the bird's eye cam.
It's horrible.
It was great. It was Bigfoot.
Anyway.
Anyways, yeah, it's
Trickery.
I think it's trickery. I mean, do I believe that there's? We could go on with this. There's a spirit. A person has a spirit, and I do believe that, and that it leaves your body when you die. I'm not quite sure where it goes, what it does, but I don't believe it hangs around in buildings and fields and
Fields.
all that wonky horse shit where
Yeah.
it hangs out and
I mostly agree.
ooh, I had smallpox and I died in this cabin and I was never free.
Who's this character?
That's all
Who is this ghost? What's
Steve's
that
getting
ghost
haunted
name?
tonight by the smallpox cabin.
That was Edward LeGregor.
He died of smallpox.
Thank you, Mr. LeGregor.
And we're gonna summon Edward right now.
Well, we got some internet submissions.
Yeah, some internet ghost stories.
So first,
Turn the lights down, and we'll tell you some internet
Alright.
ghost
The lights
I
are
want to
already
show
off,
you
Dave.
a
No,
friend.
I'm talking to our listeners.
A friend and coworker, Alex. He had some friends go to the Hoosick Tunnel, the famously caved-in tunnel in Massachusetts that used to be a mining or train tunnel. Something blew up. A lot of people died. He said around 198 construction workers died. His friends went there, and he sent me a picture because I had posted on Facebook, if anyone has any ghost stories, let me know. So here's the picture. I'll show Dan first. It's like, it's a little unsettling, like when you actually see what they're referring to. You see that?
Something.
And it doesn't mean, like I said, it doesn't mean ghosts exist, but we can post this on our Twitter page afterwards. Right. I'll show you guys. So you're gonna want to look at that, and then let me know when, and I'll zoom in for you.
Okay.
On the bottom left. I'm gonna zoom
bottom
in.
left.
Yeah.
Does look like a little face.
It looks like a person just sitting on the ground, hunched down, with their face there.
Yeah, it definitely does, but it also looks like it could just
It could
be
just be light on the
wall.
rock, and that's what I asked him. And he said they checked, and there was no light hitting the rock there. So, again, doesn't mean ghosts exist, but
It's definitely
just
creepy.
an unsettling image to look at. And we'll post that on the Twitter so people can take.
We'll
a look.
put a red circle around it.
Yeah.
Or just
we know
zoom
where
in on the bottom left.
That is.
It is a known haunted tunnel. Like, there are known haunted locations. So as much as you can say that it's all coincidence.
We went to one in Lake George.
We did.
And I felt even less the least haunted I've ever felt in my life was that.
The four of us here, Steve, Dave, John, and myself, we went on vacation, and we decided to do the ghost tour at Fort William Henry in Lake George, which a few of us had done before. It's fun. They take you through the fort. You get to see the basement, and they talk to you about different ghosts.
And then they make a bunch of shit
Limper.
up. and yeah.
There's a ghost called the Limper that when some people hear walking and a dragging limp, like.
And he'll go, "Is that you, Limper?
Is that you?
Is that you?
Limper's one of our friendly ghosts around here, folks."
I mean, they have to make it kid friendly, but that place aside, I mean, you didn't feel anything. I'm sure Steve didn't feel anything.
Like, they let us go down into, like, the basement and take pictures and to see if we could look at them and see orbs afterwards. And no, it's just a bunch of weird, dark pictures. I saw them on my phone.
I think the problem with a tour like that, the first time we did it, there was like 15 of us, and even that was pushing it. We had like 75 people going through somewhere. You're just not gonna pick up on anything, see anything, feel anything.
Right.
Hear
If it was a
anything.
couple of us, maybe. I mean, if you believe in ghosts, it just seems like they'd be more likely to. But then again, why would a ghost care how many people were there?
Well, I'm saying you have so much stimuli around you
right.
that you're not able to focus on anything.
And it does seem like the ghosts almost do want to spook people just for like coming in their space or whatever, because they do think, "Hey, what are you guys doing in my house?" Or,
They tell you to
"What are you
get
doing
out
in my
all
mind?
the time.
I'm trying to work here."
Get out.
And there are
that.
places where people will constantly have experiences, and it just seems like too much of a coincidence for people to just continuously see the same things or just like hear something.
Yeah.
Or...
Nothing annoys me more than people listening to like room noise and hear like a glitch in the audio or just a weird background noise and be like, "Dude, that ghost is saying hey," and it's like, no, it's just a weird.
Sometimes it's clear.
Yeah, I think
Sometimes
and
it is
it's almost like if it's clear, I'm just like, okay, well, they added that in,
And that's the problem.
And that's the problem with any sort of
you can't,
belief system.
unless you capture it yourself, and it's a clear thing. There's no way to sway anybody on the paranormal unless they've either experienced it themselves.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so paradoxical.
And it's an endless loop. Because you have the people that don't believe going, "That's stupid. I've never seen anything." And it's like, "Well, I have."
Yeah,
But you
can only prove it to yourself, which is definitely it's.
If we didn't, if ghosts weren't such a part of the popular culture in movies and TV shows and stories that people tell, I don't feel like we would interpret the experiences. Like, so for me, someone who doesn't believe in ghosts, I don't have any ghost stories. You guys do. I don't know if that's because of things that you have experienced. I don't know if it's the stories come from your experiences or if the experiences come from your pre-held
for
beliefs.
myself,
You know what I mean?
For myself, I didn't believe in ghosts.
Okay.
Until-
You haven't really said anything about your belief in ghosts, but you said you do believe in them. But so far, everything you've been talking about is that they don't.
When
exist.
I was, this probably happened when I was like 19 or something like that. So I mean, I was still freshly, indoctrinated from my public schooling, and I didn't believe in anything spiritual. That the spirituality was beaten out of me in school, but Yeah, so I did believe in ghosts, but then, once I saw shit flying in the basement, then I didn't have any answers, So, and I mean, that this was a place that was supposedly haunted,
Did you know that before you experienced that?
I believe I did. But I didn't believe
Right.
in it for
So
myself.
it didn't
though.
affect the fact that
Yeah. I wasn't expecting it, certainly, or anything like that.
Dave, what would be the reasoning? So, you have all these people, family members, friends. Like Dan was saying, 1 out of 3 people saying they either believe or have experienced something. What would be the reasoning to have 1 in 3 human beings pulling wool over the other 2's eyes? Like, what is...
I'm not saying they're making it up. I'm not saying they're playing.
They might
a
be
prank.
coming to conclusions that
Exactly. I think ghosts are purely a product of the human imagination, the human mind. Without humans, there would be no belief in ghosts, or I mean, obviously, but I think it's all just the power of the imagination. Like everything, that we can only perceive the world the way our brains can process information, and the byproduct of that is ideas without evidence sometimes, and ghosts is one of those byproducts, I think.
That's fair.
But it's definitely. I didn't believe for the longest
Right,
time.
yeah.
in what makes you believe now, other than the flying.
I mean, the first-hand experience really was the game changer, of course. That was, yeah.
I did find an unexplained pair of handprints
Oh, right.
in my bathroom rug in a house that I was living in by myself. No one had been over that day, and I walk in the bathroom.
You didn't do a handstand?
No, well, that's the thing. So it's this kind of shag rug on the bathroom floor, which was weird, but
The whole bathroom?
yeah, the whole bathroom.
That's real weird.
Yeah, but
That's probably mold.
so I look clearly defined handprints, and I'm like, oh, that's freaky. It kind of freaked me out, and so I kind of brushed them away with my feet, like in the rug, and then I got down and I tried to recreate, not in the same place, but I tried to recreate handprints in the rug at all different angles, pushing the rug in all different directions, and I could not make like it was too thick and didn't lay down flat to make a handprint.
Yeah.
And it's like, so how did first of all, who's been in my house? I've been here alone all day, and second of all, how did they make a handprint? I cannot. Like it's just the way the rug is doesn't leave handprints. And I'm like, that's weird. So I don't have an explanation for that. Ghosts? I don't know. Maybe. Or,
To answer your question from earlier, I kind of like the Ghost of Christmas Present from the Muppets Christmas Carol.
I love that.
But I don't know if he's my favorite ghost.
I like the
Definitely one of.
ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. I think he's
The lonesome ghosts from the old Mickey Mouse cartoon where Mickey, Donald, and Goofy
Yeah, those are good.
go
those are
ghost
good
hunting with a rifle.
right.
Those ghosts are pretty scary. Casper kind of sucks.
Casper's a cliche.
The original Casper cartoon about the dog, that's really upsetting,
Okay,
and it's so sad, but it's also so happy. So
How about our guest ghost? We have any more listener
Oh, yeah.
submissions on?
we have a
more-
couple.
some more ghost stories.
I asked if anyone had any paranormal encounters or anything that they wanted to talk about. Caitlin says the ghost touched my dad, so that's
It's a book I wrote as a kid. It's actually it was part of the
I love that book.
elementary school library for 4 years.
yeah. He wrote a book about a haunted house, and then he was like, "A ghost touched my dad."
The end.
The-
So that's my life.
my friend Jess says that she has a ghost cat that kind of follows her mom around. I guess they did not have a cat, but growing up, her mom used to feel like a cat was running up next to her, and they had like a niece recently that like said, "Hey, whose cat is this?" and was like running around looking at a cat. Or they said they felt like a cat was sleeping on them at times without any knowledge of the mom ever, mentioning that they also felt a cat.
Ghost kitty?
So
Sounds
Ghost Kitty.
spooky.
The story goes on a little bit. I can post that for anyone who's interested about the details. There's a lot of cat ghost stuff. Pretty cool. Previous guest Bay, you may remember him from the Atlantis episode,
Oh, bag.
who had the great recap of the movie.
Alright.
Warned me never to use a Ouija board.
I would probably have to agree there.
Ouija boards, you believe in
Yeah.
them? You believe in the power of Luigi?
I don't want to try it. I just don't want to mess with
yeah,
it.
even if you.
I'd do it.
Yeah, well,
I can see. We'll do it.
That's the thing. That's the thing about.
You don't.
That's the thing about paranormal stuff. I would love to have an encounter, just not anywhere I have to go
Right.
often.
I can promise
wouldn't
I would never move the fucking.
That's what I'm saying. Dave and I would not move it for each other because we both know we want
to believe.
to get solid
and
proof.
Fuck anyone who does. By the way,
Yeah, for real.
Like that's fucked up.
So move it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fucking with people's beliefs
Create
like
fear?
that. Yeah.
That's terrorism.
And I think part of it too is just subconscious.
Right.
You know, especially with like young kids or whatever, who are usually the ones who are playing.
Fuck anyone who intentionally moves the pointer of Luigi.
Well, those are.
I mean,
Yeah.
fuck the demons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea behind the Ouija board is that it opens up a connection to another world.
I don't want to do that. I don't think that's our
I mean,
place. I don't think that's our place.
Yeah.
If you believe in that, I don't think
Yeah.
that's...
I don't
We'll go to
know.
haunted
If we
hotel.
we
We'll go to
probably-
the Federal.
I
That's
don't-
haunted.
I don't know if we want to have a demons episode.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people say like they tried Ouija boards and they thought they were communicating with something, but it turned out to be something else. There are demonologists and stuff, people who study demonic activity. A lot of them say they often disguise themselves as children or ghosts, friendly ghosts, just so that they can create an attachment with somebody. And
That's scary.
It is. I don't ever see that happening in my life.
We have to incorporate this plot thread into the Truth or Goof movie now. So.
Oh, Dave gets possessed. Yeah, I don't know. Ouija boards. It's a game. It's a board game.
Right.
I understand. Maybe there's
Fucking
there's a pattern.
Parker
on
Brothers
that.
makes them.
Right. I think it's more of a psychological thing. But then again, who knows? I've never done it. I do know somebody who used a Ouija board, and I would have no reason to lie to me about this. Who was like saying something in another room, and to see if the ghost would then make the word appear on the Ouija board, and it did. And it was like an obscure word that his friends didn't know he was going to say. So, I mean, weird, but, I don't know. Who can say? Alex, we mentioned earlier, sent that picture. We did have somebody from Agawam who is in a paranormal team that has investigated places in the area. He was tagged in the post, but he has yet to respond. So, not calling him out. Maybe if he has a story, he can let us know later.
Putting him on blast.
Bay gave me another story about a grandma and a child pointing at a picture saying, hey, she's over there or something. Max Kibbe, former guest. Dave, do you want to try to tackle this one? I took a look at his story. But
Yeah.
It's another Ouija board story.
Yeah,
Max tells through that.
Max tells a good story.
Do you want to read it verbatim?
Yeah, should I just read it out loud?
Yeah, go for
Here
it.
we go.
We'll add
Story
some
time.
I did it
effects.
earlier. It's a good read.
So Max,
We'll punch it up with some effects.
He writes. This one time, I used a Ouija board to summon an illiterate ghost named Jerub. The numbers and letters confused him, so he couldn't communicate very well, and I think he felt I was mocking him. What I did get from him was, Shy to ek fabvus ain't no goodbye. And then the entire room echoed with soft whispers, and the temperature dropped at least 10 degrees. Later that night, after I got out of the shower, I wiped away the steam from the mirror, and I swear I saw a phantom figure in the reflection. I frantically turned around to see who it was, but there was no one. The most haunting part of it all, though, when I turned back around, scrawled in the mist of the mirror read the words, "You suck." Jared was a real jerk. Suck spelled S-U-K, and
Yeah, he
the
couldn't
letter
spell
U.
anyway.
Because he's an illiterate ghost.
Right. So, you got to do your own research.
You gotta do your own research.
You don't
Max,
Yeah, there certainly are
Max
a lot
did
of
his own research.
illiterate ghosts out there.
So those are the ghost stories I could get from friends. I mean, people have told me...
That's the best response we've gotten to a Truth or Goof prompt.
Yeah, it's. I would have posted it earlier, but I'm lazy. Maybe we should just keep posting questions, and maybe people will have it
For sure. And we should, not even about things we're going to talk about. Let's just, generate discussions about shit.
So, do you think ghosts are? We talk about the afterlife. People always say they're stuck in purgatory, or they're doing unfinished business.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really think there's something that ties your spirit to a certain plane that it's not supposed to be on, like ghosts?
I think it's all, say, you're madly in love with your wife or whatever. You spend however many years, great marriage, then all of a sudden you get, ripped up in some highway accident or something, and then
It's dark.
Mm-hmm.
Real dark.
I don't like to think about this.
I mean, this is just the hypothetical.
They couldn't die in their sleep. They had to get
but
ripped
then
up.
you die, or you have a heart attack eating McDonald's. You can't eat McDonald's every day.
Don't even get us started on McDonald's fast food.
I don't eat it every day, guys.
Every other day.
Eating your GMOs.
Love them.
Love 'em.
I love GMOs.
Gotta have them.
But anyway,
Give me
you die,
more.
and you're attached, and you don't want to let your wife go or your partner, or
Selfish.
whoever, And I think it is the selfishness and attachments
You're gonna scare them.
of the human mind.
You're gonna spook your poor wife. You're
Because-
gonna give her a glimpse into a world she's not supposed to know yet.
Right.
Because the world that we do know, the physical world, we cling to that, and then we're not ready to go on because we think it's all over, and we're clinging to the to what we had, and that's why I think a ghost can be trapped, or lost souls, earthbound souls.
Ghosts can be trapped in a Ghostbusters trap. You put them in the little machine. But then
Great play on words, Dave.
The EPA guy comes. He's like, "Gotta shut this down." And he pulls the lever, and all the ghosts come out.
All
And
of
then
them came out.
Spook Central. And you don't want that to happen.
So ghosts exist? Is that what we?
In the movie Ghostbusters, they do.
But you like Ghostbusters.
I love Ghostbusters. Doesn't mean I believe in slamming.
Okay.
You recognize it as fiction.
Yes.
We need to have our own experiences, and then we can do another episode where we're all just freaked the fuck out. Like if during this podcast all of a sudden we heard something. If during this podcast we heard something walking down the steps, what is your
I heard somebody walking on the steps earlier.
That was me.
Oh, okay.
what is your explanation? What is the scientific? Like, how do you debunk that?
Debunked.
I mean, I can't debunk something that hasn't happened.
But if it did,
You debunked something that happened to us.
If that happened, then I would have to, examine it and think about it. I can't debunk a hypothetical thing that hasn't actually happened.
Anecdotes.
Yeah.
very scary.
Yes. Creepy,
What a
stuff.
what a
world.
scary episode.
So this is our 13th episode, and on October, just in time for All Hallows Eve. This was planned from the beginning. We started our podcast, so we knew that this one would fall on October, the 13th episode for our Halloween Spooktacular.
It's all scripted. We started writing, I think, the first night.
Yeah.
So
We knew this.
we're reading off of a page.
I mean,
right
let's not take credit away from the macrocosm, that
right.
created
That's
this
true.
podcast on the blood moon last.
Oh, right.
God.
Sure.
Do any of you guys know I don't know anything about All Hallows Eve and Halloween and why we...
Well, let's get into it.
I mean, we're kind of running. We're ticking out on the
Yeah.
clock here. Maybe we'll do our third series of Life After Death, or I guess demons.
Demons.
Halloween.
Angels and demons.
Who knows? I don't really know. Halloween, I don't know. I haven't looked into the history of
Yeah.
Halloween.
That's when
I know
it's
it's a pagan
certainly
holiday.
it's the
Time when the veil between our world and theirs is the thinnest. So
Yeah.
the spirits can creep out.
Because there certainly is a veil. Drugs will remove the veil.
Oh God. So why don't we see more ghosts when people are high?
When people are high.
Well, I mean, it's certainly, I mean, that's a total different,
Yeah.
different episode.
We'll get
The
into
drugs episode,
Yeah.
we took away your right to vote. Happy New Year, Truth or Goof. You don't get to vote on what we talk about anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
longer a democracy.
Oh God.
That was spooky.
Yeah,
That was the
spooky.
devil.
So we'll have to think about a nice vote and let the people choose again.
Yes, please.
Maybe do an election. And maybe they will vote
The election special
to
next
talk
month.
about the election.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
that out just in time for people's,
Yeah.
write-ins. Get your
Yeah.
write-ins ready, folks.
Yeah. Let us know what topics you want to hear about, and then we'll put them into a poll. But no one will do that.
So I think we've covered ghosts.
We cover ghosts.
Let's have some Halloween fun for a little
Some
bit. What's your
Halloween
favorite thing about Halloween, Dave?
the
The ghoulies or the goblies?
the Kit Kats.
The Kit Kats? Spooky
Yes.
spooky witches?
Yeah, I mean, everybody
Oh, yeah.
loves the
Sexy
sugar.
witches.
Sexy witches.
The shuggy.
What's your guys' favorite thing about the hallowed holiday?
Probably just the word spooky.
Spooky.
Like,
stuff.
you can't...
There's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, spooky's... That's a lot of unpacking from that one word, but that's a good word.
I like a nice haunted house.
All right.
Get spooked for real.
What about the perfect fall leaf
Oh
to
my
step
God.
on with the perfect crunch?
Yeah.
Is that your favorite part?
Holding a pumpkin with a loved one.
Yeah.
The mold
Corn maze.
Corn maze.
I did a corn maze the other day. It was great.
Watching Hocus Pocus, cheering when Thackeray Binks comes back to life.
I don't need to believe in ghosts to enjoy Halloween.
Corn maze.
And all
True,
that kind
it's
of
true.
thing.
Maze.
It's very true. You know what's weird though? When you said corn maze, I thought of the band, just like a maze made of band members. That was
The
weird.
corn maze.
My
Steve,
veil's been lifted.
is your favorite thing about Halloween that it's deer season?
Yes. Because other than that, I'm completely flaccid.
Whoa.
We'll talk
Good.
about demons next episode.
And flaccid
Bad
ghosts.
do you want to try to make up a ghost story right now, and then,
Oh, real
and
quick.
then Dan can add in some sound effects to go along with it
A real quick ghost story.
afterwards, and we can all join in and tell the perfect ghost story.
All right. So,
Do you want me to start?
yeah, go ahead.
It was a night. It was October. No, maybe it was October 32nd or something. Oh, I fucked up already. That's not a real
October
date.
32nd. Okay, Dan.
Okay, Dan, you try.
AKA midnight on Halloween. You know, kids, some of the late kids, they're still out trick-or-treating. Some of the adults, you know, they're still, they're drunk, so they think they're kids. And they're out going house to house looking for candy.
There's a group of not bad kids, but mischievous kids.
Sinful.
Sinful boys.
They
boys and
lost the
girls.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Dressed like your traditional ghouls,
Yeah.
witches.
And they're up to no good.
They're up to no good.
And they start making trouble in their neighborhood. And they go to this one house who earlier that night didn't give them the candy they wanted. And they're like, fuck this guy. And
We're killing a guy tonight. We're fucking murdering someone tonight.
And they fucking break into his house. And they're like,
They walk in and all the lights are off.
Oh,
And they see a figure moving slowly through the dark.
creep.
And they look and they notice it's Blind Man Winters.
Oh, now Blind Man Winters is a tale that goes back to 1903. There was a man named Mr. Winters who was blind, and that's literally it. There's pictures of him all over town every Halloween because
He never saw any of them.
he never saw them. That's why. And so they see this blind man, and all of a sudden he disappears with a whoosh. And the kids are scared. They just saw Blind Man Winters, and suddenly
and they're like, fuck you, Blind Man Winter.
yeah, one of them pulls off his mask, and all of a sudden his hands disappear.
His own hand.
His own hands are gone. And this is a boy named Todd.
And then Todd looks out the window, the bay window,
Oh.
at blind old Winter's house, and he sees a foreclosure sign, and he realizes that house has been empty for 6 months.
And they're like, if
Suddenly a bat.
a bat?
There's a bat.
There's a bat.
Baseball bat.
It
Flying-
fly through in there?
Flying baseball bat. And there's a real bat too, like a vampire bat too.
Right. And it hits Todd in the head.
Yes. The sheet ghost. Don't forget the sheet ghost coming down the stairs.
Right.
It's all happening.
Yeah, so it knocks him on the head, and he rolls down the stairs, and now he's in the basement and it's dark. It's like, oh shit. And now he doesn't know where he is. He's looking for his friends. His friends are gone. His friends bailed.
They left.
They left.
The door slams.
Door slams. They're like, fuck you.
They didn't close it, though.
Right.
And then Todd revisits the part of the story where his hands disappear.
Right. Todd doesn't have any hands.
So Todd looks and his hands are gone. Sort of like in that Back to the Future sort of way where they're
disappearing.
kind of there but they're not there.
Right.
And he looks up and Old Man Winters is holding the bat using Todd's hands.
Oh.
And then Todd fucking dies, dude.
No.
He dodges
No.
it 'cause
Blind Man
he's-
Winters
He can't see.
takes his eyes with his own hands.
Oh.
Takes Todd's eyes out of his head.
Well, no. See,
No,
this
Blind
is
Man
how it
Winters
goes.
also had his hands cut off in life. So he needed Todd's hands, and then he needed Todd's eyes because he was Blind Man
And then
Winters.
Todd is spared, but he leaves the house never to see or feel again.
And then he becomes Blind Man Winters.
And he never hungers for sugar or processed foods again.
He doesn't have his third eye has been
Is
awakened
open.
because his regular eyes
Has been stolen.
have been stolen. And
All right. That was definitely the ending that we needed. Opening the third eye because you got it closed. If thine eye be single, your whole body's gonna be full of light.
Right.
also, a witch
That's
flies
Jesus.
by at
Yeah.
the end, and,
And a skeleton
and a
goes,
cat
"Woo."
goes, "Happy Halloween,"
And it winks.
and it winks.
And then it zooms in. It blacks out just the circle around the cat, and then full black.
yeah,
Full
Credits.
black.
it's,
Black
it's a
it out.
happy ending. You know,
I like that ending. That was great.
and we're gonna add some spooky effects in there.
Yeah. The bat.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the dramatic conclusion.
Yes. I hope you enjoyed the Spooktacular.
The
Thank you for
Spooktacular.
listening.
It's been a whole year.
It's been over a year now. It's pretty good.
We're gonna celebrate.
Year 2.
Yeah, you were in year 2.
We're gonna start off the celebration of year 2 with some fall things:
Yeah. Cider.
cider,
I love cider.
pumpkin beer.
Spiders beside her.
John, thank you for coming to the Spooktacular.
Thank you for having me.
And making it extra spooky.
We didn't talk about his costume. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Halloween costume you wore here?
Yeah. Yep. I wore a costume here tonight. It's
What is it?
It's a big old bear. He's got a mask on. That's why if you guys heard my voice a little bit mumbly like a bear's would be. But he's wearing a sweater. He's a bear with a sweater.
Steve, is it bear season?
Nope.
Okay, you're good.
Dave, do you
so
want
glad.
to talk about your costume a little bit? I see the tiara.
Yeah, well, I'm a hot dog with a tiara on the top.
Princess Hot Dog?
Princess Hot Dog. You don't know about Princess Hot Dog?
Is that an Adventure Time character?
Yeah, the princess of the hot dog kingdom.
You were a dog in our reincarnation episode.
That's
and now
true.
you're a hot
Now I'm a
dog.
princess hot dog.
And my costume was Dan. Little did I know the whole time,
Oh,
behind everything, I was the one mind, and we are all the one mind.
you
And there
you
is
were
no-
wearing a mask, but the mask is gone now. Death
Hasn't happened
is
yet.
the mask.
But I'm gonna be ready, and I'm not planning on sticking around this dump.
Yeah,
when
we're
it's
getting out
time
of here. I
for-
don't want to be a ghost.
Put me in the dirt.
My costume is I'm the classic sheet ghost, but I couldn't find a white sheet, so it's like a Bob Marley blanket. And my eye holes are Bob's eyes. And also,
It's pretty scary.
Yeah.
I've been kind of I didn't want to say anything.
So
but
when I
I'm
stand
pretty
up,
freaked
and
out.
I'm also
Very
wearing,
unsettling.
Yeah.
I'm also wearing a fake bottom. Like my bum is like a fake plaster bum, so I'm like seated up a little bit higher than everybody. And
Oh, okay. I was
and
wondering.
I'm also wearing Heelys, so I've been gliding around the room, creating a voice effect where it goes from one mic to the other, just gliding back and forth like that. What is that called? EDMSR or whatever?
Oh, I don't know.
BDSM.
No,
BDSM. Oh,
something
yeah.
with those letters.
With the fake bums. Yeah. They're into that.
It's Steve is naked as usual.
Yep.
Didn't want to wear a costume.
Begging for food. Jesus
That's
Christ.
because you're in my basement. Get out of my basement.
Oh no! It's the ghost that's coming for us! Quick! What do you guys want to say before we go?
It's time to get out of this.
It's time to get out of this basement. All right, we gotta
Yeah, get out of the
go.
basement.
We gotta
Sorry to
go.
cut the podcast early, but something's happening down here.
Steve's coming at us with a
There's
rusty axe.
the famous bat we were talking
Bat
about, is
is
swooping
flying
at me.
around.
Get out of here!
Old Man Winters is coming.
Blind Man Winters is coming.
The witch, do you see her? All right, well that'll do it for another episode of Truth or